Hey, it's Pat Dorednio. Welcome to day 46 of your 7-week mind-body reset. And today we are talking about splitting your spending up into 4 accounts, 4 different buckets. The first one was your regular expenses. Those are things that come out either every month or a smaller interval than that, like every week or every 2 weeks. And we have one account and one card for that. And all those automations, all those regular expenses that occur every month or in intervals less than every month come out of that account. And our goal is to get to where only 60 to 70% of our spending is going towards those things. And believe me, you will get there. Even if you think it's impossible right now, you will get there if you do these steps. If you don't do these steps thinking, Seth, there's no way. I'm living paycheck to paycheck right now. I'm going to skip this and see what you had to say next. Don't do that. Try this, okay? You haven't tried it yet. You're still stuck financially. Try something different, okay? So the next thing you want to do is have an account for irregular expenses. These are expenses that happen less frequently than every month. Maybe they happen every 3 months, every 6 months, every year, maybe like every 5 years. The things you never think about until they hit you right between the eyes and you're like, oh my God, and it's an emergency. Most emergencies are really just a result of poor planning. That's all there is to it. Most of the so-called emergencies we face in life are really just a result of poor planning. And they catch us off guard because we haven't planned for them. They're not really emergencies. We just haven't planned for them. So planning for irregular expenses by having an account where you want to have 10 to 20% of your income going in here. Now, again, remember, 60 to 70% is your goal with your regular expenses. So you may have to move these numbers around a little bit. Maybe you're going to have 5% going towards irregular expenses because you still need to kind of get your act together and figure out how to have your regular expenses, a little bit lower every month. That's fine. Don't worry about getting the percentages perfect right now. Just put them all in separate accounts, track them, start putting some money aside. I don't care if it's only 5% of what you make. Believe me, you have it, okay? If you're thinking, well, I need that 5% to pay my expenses this month, that's a lie, okay? Think about it. I mean, when that irregular expense comes up, somehow you find the money to pay for it, don't you? So you have the money, you're just not planning ahead. I want you to have a separate account for your irregular expenses and just start putting money in there. And if you really want to get precise, assign dollars to each of your irregular expenses. So let's say that you have 4 irregular expenses that you've written down and you know exactly how much they are and how much, when they're going to be due. Maybe you have a spreadsheet that has those written down and has the amount that's in your irregular expense account and says, here's how much is set aside for a car repair. Here's how much is set aside for a title. I know some of you aren't going to want to do this, but that's why you're stuck right now. It's because you're not doing this. You're not planning ahead. So I'm just asking you to do this for the next 6 months and see what happens. So you can have a separate account for your irregular expenses. You're going to put money in there out of your paycheck every month, even if it's only 5%. Your goal is going to get to where you're putting 10 to 20% in there. And then we're going to talk about the other 2 accounts tomorrow. And remember, the rule for this week is the 80-20 rule, the Pareto principle. And the Pareto principle is how you get leverage on your life. It basically states that about 20% of your actions are going to be producing about 80% of the value in your life. And the problem is that most people are focusing way too much time on the other 80% of their actions, which are only producing about 20% of the value in their life, right? And this principle is present everywhere. It's present in the cosmos. It's present out in nature. It is a universal law, okay? Don't overanalyze it. Just start trying to leverage it in your life. Start leveraging it in your life, and you're going to see that it's going to make a tremendous difference. And the more organized you are with your spending with these 4 accounts, the easier it's going to get to start applying the 80-20 rule, changing your relationship with urgency, as we talked about last week, and that's going to change everything, okay? So I want you to go ahead and put that account together. Make it your goal to put 10 to 20% of your monthly income in there, and don't worry if you have to move things around or if this isn't perfect. You got to give yourself time. If you haven't been managing your money at all and you start putting yourself on a strict plan like this, it ain't going to work right away. right? It's going to resist you. You're going to have to learn. You're going to mess things up. Allow yourself to do that while you learn to do this. Don't expect to get it perfect right out of the gate. And when it's not perfect, say, it doesn't work, and then stop doing it. That's not the way you do it. You keep doing it. You troubleshoot. You figure out what doesn't work until you finally, a year from now, you're going to be a master at it. So do that, and I will see you tomorrow.